Folks, welcome to So Bad It's Good. As you can see, I am in studio today for the first time ever, so we needed to kick this off with a bang. You know my favorite show on television right now is The Traitors. The Traitors. And we have one of the contestants on The Traitors. Of course, you fell in love with her on Big Brother. She had a triumphant appearance on Jeff Lewis Live this morning, and we're going to try to pump her for as much information without upsetting NBC at all. We have the amazing Britney Haynes. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Are you shocked about the level of insanity that goes with The Traitors? In fact, like, I am so obsessed. It's the #1 unscripted show on television right now.
Yes, it absolutely is. I'm not surprised at all because I tell everyone it's like objectively great TV.
It really
is.
is.
I'm not being biased. If I weren't on the show, I would be obsessed with it. Like,
yeah.
It is objectively good television. Everyone who's like on the fray, like, doesn't really watch it, that's like a friend of mine, and they're like, oh, I'll watch it because you're on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, don't watch it because I'm on it. It's objectively great television. Like, you should be watching it because it's good.
Well, and there are episodes that I'm like, this is a pure comedy.
It's amazing.
I mean, you were a part of the Sandoval experience, which
Yes.
was the doll.
Yes. Yes.
And what was that like to see in person? Because I know you're a fan of reality television and Bravo. That must have felt like a virtual reality experience.
It truly was. I mean, he was having an out-of-body experience is how I described it, but it was like from the moment that it was suggested that we were going to be singing, which is when Alan, like in front of the castle, is like, you know, the dolls are going to be singing whatever. That is when he started asking for lozenges so that he could properly lubricate the cords.
Of course, he's an artist.
Okay, and
yes.
we're like marching into the woods, he's like doing his warm-ups, like his vocal warm-ups and flips, and we're like, what is he doing? I mean, he truly was like, came alive.
Yeah.
This is my moment to shine. Like, this is what he's going to do. He's going to take over. He's going to be the star of this. He's going to do amazing. I don't know what the end game was. Was it that, you know, a producer?
The end game is a children's album.
Would watch The Traitors and be like, wow.
Yeah. Elton John is
yes,
like,
I
yes.
must collaborate with this man who is singing these backwards lullabies. Like, I've never quite heard of a Brado hit just like that. But I think that's like that is where he was taking it in his mind.
Well, you told Carolyn this on a show a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to let my audience know, if you don't know, there's so much good stuff on the cutting room floor, right?
Oh
so
my God,
in that little
tons.
cabin, they had put a trumpet. And we know, if you watch Vanderpump Rules, Tom Sandoval, master trumpet player on top of master vocalist.
Yes.
He found a trumpet and started playing, right?
This was a prop trumpet. Okay, like, this wasn't like... it was supposed to be like antique toys is the vibe, right? Like, it was supposed to like match the doll vibe. like you stumbled into this old creepy toy house from the Hansel and Gretel toy house, okay? So as a prop, like, they had all kinds of like antique toys. There was a trumpet in there. And this is not like a nice trumpet. This is like a rusty old piece that was like found in an attic, you know, from forever ago. And so we had finished the mission, and we were just kind of standing around waiting, doing some pickups and things. And he had like broken off from the group. So I'm not sure at what point in the mission he eyed that trumpet, but he made like a mental note. He was like, when I get time.
He goes, I don't want to ruin the mission, but I do see one of my friends,
I got to get to
trumpet.
the phone right now, but mental note. Trumpet's right there, top shelf.
But also, I think that's good producing and set designing, because you have to know, if you are a reality star, a reality show fan.
You think that?
Come on, you're just going
to
accidentally a toy trumpet is going to make its way in.
It did like match the vibes. So I will say, as someone who is not like a trumpet aficionado, didn't register for me. Like, if you would have asked me after the fact, like, hey, is there a trumpet in that house? I would have said no. I didn't notice one. But Tom Sandoval. It was ringing like a bell for Tom Sandoval. And so we're all just kind of standing outside, like, waiting. And suddenly we hear just from the far away, like, everyone else stayed together.
It's like a siren in the woods.
And we're like, what is happening right now? Like, what is going on? And he comes out of the door of that cabin.
I would pay extra to Peacock. I will pay extra for like footage like that.
How does this get cut? They had to actually tell him to please put the trumpet away.
You are being too entertaining, Mr. Sandoval. Please.
We had to specifically ask that the trumpet be put back into the cabin. Like he was gonna go with it for a while, I think.
How do you keep a straight face in scenarios like that, or do you just not? And
no,
sometimes
we were all just like dying.
The round tables are so insane. But is there ever a time when you have to hold yourself back from just laughing because you've been a part of reality television and a fan of reality television that you realize something is so funny in the moment? Or when it gets to the round table, is it just intensity all the way around?
It is intense. They do a really, really good job of keeping you focused and making it really intense. Like the process that leads up into the round table starting is designed from a production standpoint to get you in the mindset and to like keep you really in it so that you're really focused and that it's really intense. They do a really, really good job of that. Like I don't want to get into production specifics.
No, but I just love that it's that serious. And that's without the sound effects that they give the audience, which doubles the intensity for us at home.
Yes. And a lot of times, like if I knew that I was making facial expressions, whoever they were in regards to is who everyone was looking at. So I felt like I could like pretty freely get away with it because I'm like, no, I don't think anyone was like analyzing me or my faces. So I felt pretty free.
So Big Brother is where you kind of got known by everybody, and you are a very adept Big Brother player. That is a huge blind spot for me and for a lot of my audience. But that's why the Traitors is so good, is that I'm picking up Big Brother next season. Like I want to see what all the fuss is about, because they say the gamers, which you are a gamer, you guys are the most ruthless and cutthroat out of all of the games. Is that true?
I don't know if Big Brother you would say is better or worse as far as like being cutthroat than Survivor. I feel like Survivor is maybe even up a level.
But that's only 29 days.
It is only, and that plays heavily, in my opinion, into why it can be more cutthroat, because in Big Brother you eliminate weekly, and in Survivor they eliminate daily or every other day. It's much easier to get away with like lying to someone's face on such a short-term basis, as opposed to in Big Brother when you have to do it for an entire week. It's like way more uncomfortable.
Like, do you have nerves of steel?
But no, I don't at all. Like I've always been like a very emotional player in general, and I always kind of had a hard time with the emotions of it. Like I'm not known to be some sort of like stone cold player. That's not really my thing. But I do think that those competitive reality shows, when those competitors, like other people who have been on Traitors, from Big Brother, from Survivor, like they show up to play, and they're there to make strategic moves, not necessarily just have screen time or like be on TV for TV's sake. It's like, no, like they want to win. We want to win.
This is how I make my yearly nut. Like Boston Rob, you're going up against Boston Rob, who does like these shows now for a lifetime.
For a lifetime. I mean, he's made like a legitimate career out of it.
Is it fair to put
so good?
Is it fair to put Housewives and Sandoval and Ciara with gamers? And I guess you could say reality show and their like kind of land as a game as well. But is it, I mean, is it hard?
It's not fair from an objective competition standpoint. No, it's not. However, that's not what they're in it for anyway. Like they want to be on the show for the exposure. Like they don't actually want to win the game.
Dorinda goes, I didn't get to wear all my outfits. She's like, I had a whole wardrobe of outfits.
Correct. So, I mean, do I think that they can measure up to Boston Rob? No, absolutely not. They're pawns for him to use, like in various ways. But I think that the mix of people and that, you know, bringing people from all different types of backgrounds is what makes the show funny. It's what makes it compelling and interesting. Like, I think that the mix adds something.
Yeah, and also it shows the history of reality television in one show.
And all in one show.
And then you have Lord Ivar. Like just a random Lord Ivar.
Just a random.
Or a Sam Asghari type.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was so excited about Sam.
Because that's a great casting as well. Like on its face, you're like, that's so weird, Britney's ex. But then you're like, that's what makes the show great, because it's still pop culture.
It's pop culture.
And I'm a TMZ reality.
Yes. And I'm like a super pop culture diehard. Okay. Like I lived and breathed for Britney Spears from like 2004 to 2012.
Did you pepper him with questions at any point off camera?
If you would ask him questions, he would be so obviously not wanting to discuss it that it became awkward. So you would like maybe try, like I did at one point mention that I've seen her in concert like 3 or 4 times. Like I would like lightly, but try to like really delicately sprinkle, because you couldn't just sit there and hammer him. He would completely shut down. you couldn't really ask him anything about Britney basically whatsoever. He would just like completely change the subject.
Which was so funny because they brought, it was one of the earlier episodes where they said your name, but it got taken as Britney Spears.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, Britney, the player that's here. Yeah.
Yeah. And exactly. Like in that moment, he would have had the opportunity to like actually say something about Britney Spears. And it was just like a very casual pass off. Like, trust me, I wanted to get into it. I wanted to be like, what happened at that restaurant in Woodland Hills that day?
When she was talking backwards. Yes.
Did you really go to the valet or were you in a fight? Because TMZ said that you were in a fight and that you stormed out, but you said you were just going to the valet. Like, what really happened? I wanted to break it down.
See, you are like super pop culture.
Oh, super pop
Should
culture.
Justin Baldoni do the Traitors?
Sure.
Yeah, now I'm just trying to like cast this show in my head.
Would that be amazing?
Wouldn't that be insane? Like the first thing after It Ends With Us
you
drama?
did the 4-hour podcast on It Ends With Us, and like I could have co-narrated that with you.
I couldn't do it every day. Like, so I was like, I had to put it in one episode.
If I tell you that those text messages that she sent would have blackmailed me into a dark hole under the earth to never emerge, I think I would, if I had sent those text messages, the embarrassment level, you could have gotten away with anything against me.
That's what I mean.
Blackmail.
Well, and that's the thing is that text messages, we're not meant to send them, but like the mutual jerking each other off on like a collaborative level. And then all of a sudden it takes the turn that it takes.
Oh my God. If I ever call myself Daenerys Targaryen,
by the way,
I want no one to ever
The rumor around the
speak
Traitors
to me
Castle
again.
is that you called yourself Khaleesi a lot of the time. Is that true?
That is.
That would start rumors here.
The secondhand embarrassment. You would never see my face again.
I
I would
know.
go live underground if it was revealed that I had sent a text message comparing myself to Daenerys.
And then they show up at SNL 50 with all of these stars. Imagine having to talk to Steve Martin and somebody explaining it to Steve Martin what's going on.
The text messages were so bad.
And we're going to like this trial doesn't happen until March 2026, right? So either they're going to have to settle or we're going to have to deal with a year of this stuff. But eventually.
But right now, you've got pride at stake. Like this far in and it's gone this far. It's ego. And so like, who's gonna drop it? I don't think either side is going to drop it. I think we're going to go to trial.
Well, that's why it's very reality show ethos because, you Traitors, everybody has like an ego or Sandoval has an ego. Like he's voting for himself in the last challenge of like, I'm the biggest threat, dude. It's me, dude. I'm obvious.
Which they predicted, by the way.
Yes.
That's like exactly what they predicted would happen. And then that's exactly what happened, which was like kind of amazing.
Explain to the audience. So since I was like, I obviously am very aware of Big Brother, but haven't watched it. When we get into the season, we meet you and Danielle. And it's almost positioned as a nemesis kind of thing. Like Danielle is very upset at you because you betrayed or backstabbed her on Big Brother Reindeer Games, which was a spinoff of Big Brother.
Correct.
And
a holiday treat.
That's what the holidays are about, is backstabbing and betrayal. Match.
Exactly. For most people.
So you had an alliance with her, and then it was positioned where you needed to go with Xavier Prather, right?
No.
What was the story?
I'll give you the quick version.
I know you have to tell this all the time.
Well, it's okay. I'll give you the quick version. The quick version is we had never met. Okay. So we're both Big Brother alums, but I had never actually interacted with her before. On the Big Brother season prior to Reindeer Games, they brought us in for this special little guest spot that ended up being an announcement of the Reindeer Games. And that was the first time that I ever met her ever in my entire life. We hit it off. We got along great. Things were good. And then we both knew that we were going into the Reindeer Games together. The Reindeer Games was a 6-episode spinoff that was a holiday centric, all unwrapping presents, and the elves came in and narrated. In the intro, we were cartoon characters sliding down. So there's
a real big element of silliness.
Oh, very extremely silly. We're tasked with saving Christmas. The task is to save Christmas. Okay, Santa was there.
You obviously saved Christmas because I celebrated it this past year.
We did.
Congratulations.
Yes, Christmas did happen. So anyhow, going into this, yes, she and I had done that guest spot before. But that was the first time that we had ever interacted. And so, of course, when Reindeer Games started, and she's great friends with basically everybody there, I really didn't believe that this was that we were really in a ride or die situation. She's close with she was very close with Xavier. Like she has relationships.
But it wasn't like
with other
Sisterhood
people.
of the Traveling Pants with you guys.
No, it was not. It was not. We had gotten along. Like that's not to dismiss that we didn't have a great rapport, because we did. But it was like that one little thing that we came and filmed as an intro to Reindeer Games was our entire history together. So then we go on to Reindeer Games, and on day 3, long story short, there was a challenge where you had to select a player and put them into the challenge. And when they went in, they had a little bit less time to complete it than the player before. And the first person who couldn't do it who couldn't complete the snowflake maze in the peppermint forest in the appropriate time frame.
We've gone too far with reality TV.
Correct. Would be eliminated. And so Xavier put me in, and I actually was able to complete it. Shocking. It was shocking because nobody else had done it in that time frame, and so everyone thought that I was dead. Like he put me in thinking that I was going to go out. So when I was able to complete it and I came back into Santa's Lodge,
Sure.
I got my cocoa, and then I said, "Hey, why did you send me in?" And he said to me, "To protect Danielle." And I said, "Okay, those two are obviously working very closely together." So it was my turn. I had 3 people to choose from, and I chose Danielle. And that was the
So that's
betrayal.
it. So that is where we start off where it is Danielle's like,
Yes.
I could get Britney out right in this first episode.
Correct.
Boston Rob can come into the game. You're probably the lesser of two evils to her.
She was very, very mad at me and very betrayed. And I don't want to take that away from her. I'm not
Or is that a
discrediting.
move? Are Big Brother players always thinking 30 steps ahead where I'm trying to give Danielle her flowers, so maybe that's a move?
6 months of her being mad at me. Like literally wouldn't speak to me. I tried to apologize to her in person and was given like the hard no. The hard rejection.
So did that help you think with the casting that obviously these casting directors knew that there was real beef?
It should have made me think that, but to be honest, I didn't.
Well, I mean, so obviously you have this.
Have.
Yeah, so you have this, you start the game, and I want to point out this is airing on Saturday. This is Wednesday right now. I have not seen the new episode, but we left off on this cliffhanger. And the cliffhanger was Danielle, obviously a traitor. We've let Carolyn go, and now we're going to recruit, and we see the hooded figure, or you come up to the hooded figure, and she is going to recruit, or you're going to die.
Yep.
So I have to
either choose to be a traitor or essentially quit.
And I think it's brave of you that you quit.
Choice.
I think it's very brave that you quit.
Thank you. This was really, for me, this was much like the movie It Ends With Us. This was a statement.
You took a stand, and I think it's amazing. Yeah,
I took a real stand here. Yeah,
I can only guess what happens, but
speculate.
I will say so. They edit for you earlier. I didn't hear you speak a lot until they're like, you have this like wicked sense of humor. Like I'm starting to really laugh. Like the last 4 or 5 episodes, you always will throw these comments in, and we're starting to see the gameplay. The thing that I am having a hard time with is, and I know there's a lot of Danielle fans out there. Danielle seems so obvious to me. It seems so on the surface with the tears and the challenge thing with the pictures and everybody's like, she's a brilliant player. This is brilliance. So maybe I'm not seeing the brilliance because Carolyn, I'm not saying that's a move, but it is very shocking just watching her to think, oh, she actually is like that. To me, just how she acts, you would never think
and
that.
I was shocked by Carol. I never would have.
You said she didn't have it in her.
I would have never thought that Carolyn was a traitor. And when Danielle told me that she thought Carolyn was a traitor, was kind of a wake up call for me of like, oh, that's what's going on here. Because I would have never thought that.
I mean, at the end
really
of this,
wouldn't have.
At the end of this episode, Gabby, or last week's episode, Gabby puts it together or starts to, of like,
Traitor
this is a
traitor.
Bob the drag queen, Boston
Correct.
Rob situation again, which I would think would be a usual suspects moment where everybody's like, oh, of course.
Of course.
And then start to really put together how overacting or aggressive Danielle is
and
playing.
it is. I think that there's a lot of ways that you can look at it and kind of justify the blind spots that people have towards Danielle as far as like not seeing the game, especially early on, not seeing that she's a traitor. I think that it was helpful to her, first of all, that a lot of people didn't know who she was, right?
Yeah.
So like when we arrive at the castle, most of those people don't know anyone from Survivor or Big Brother. And then, I mean, they just don't.
Who
They don't
was
watch
the
those
like
shows.
overall star like that everybody knew going in? Do you think?
Who do I think? I think that
Like Dorinda?
Dorinda for sure. I mean, I think that that's why she died, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, she was like a
it's
big
almost
name.
good to be not known. Like
Correct.
a Bergie. Bergie
It
said
really
he went
is.
in, nobody really knew who he was.
It's true. I think it helped both. I think it helped her and Carolyn. Because if no one knows who you are, and then, even when people are explaining it to each other, these other celebrities, right? And they're like, oh, he's from Survivor. They're going to talk about Boston Rob. If they're going to talk about a survivor, they're going to talk about Boston Rob. Or maybe second to him, they're going to talk about Tony. Tony had like this whole Survivor legacy. Carolyn didn't have a reputation from Survivor of being like a cutthroat.
Yeah.
You know, like that wasn't her reputation. I think that helps her.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's much more difficult to go into those shows if you have a reputation like Boston Rob, if you're really well known. I think you have a harder time.
Oh, I mean, Boston Rob, I mean, that's what became interesting is that he had to like climb up a mountain each episode.
Yes.
And he was doing it like you see how gifted he is.
He really
and then
is
finally,
so good.
by the last one, it was like you tried with Brit. He tried, you know, like, and it was almost there.
It was like a Hail Mary that he kind of had to do. But yes, I mean, the fact that he made it as far as he did is like a massive testament to his skill.
Yeah.
Because he was up against the most, I think, by far.
And he really got people rattled.
He really did. But I think, again, that is beneficial for Danielle because even out of the set of us Big Brother players, if people are going to talk about Big Brother, they were more focused on, I think, maybe Derrick because he was a cage boy. Also because he's...
By the way, Cage, if you're not watching the show, there are 3 players that got brought in the cage. It was Boston Rob, Derrick, and Wes.
Yes, and he was one of the 3, and we had kind of like identified like, oh, someone out of that group is definitely a traitor. So he was in that group. He took some heat. He won Big Brother. He just has kind of more of a, what you would just assume like a traitor personality might have, played well for Danielle. So she is able to kind of get away with a little bit more. Now, you, of course, watching at home, you have a confirmation bias. You know that she's a traitor. But for a lot of the other faithfuls who are sitting around trying to figure it out, yeah, the shiny toy is distracting them a lot of the time, and she's more able to fall to the background. Even though she's doing all this crazy stuff, even though she's having seizures and whatnot, you're so like Boston Rob and whatever he's throwing out focus that it enabled her to coast for a long time.
Well, yeah, obviously, because you're able to like go down rabbit holes like the coffin theory.
The coffin
and all
theory,
of this stuff.
Great distraction.
And so it's a bummer from an audience, but that's what like you want that kind of feeling of like, oh man, let's see how they get out of it next week.
Yeah.
So, you know, seeing the end of last week's episode, obviously you quit, so because you're a good person, but.
It was, for me, it was more than a game. And I really needed to make a stand for faithfuls everywhere.
You watch back these episodes, and at the beginning of last week's episode, Carolyn is like, girl, I would never let you pick Britney. Are you kidding me? And you had to understand that was dead on right. You wouldn't have either.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. She would have been crazy. And I kind of understood when Boston Rob was still there, and it was Boston Rob, Carolyn, and Danielle, I understood how Danielle felt like the third wheel in that scenario. So similarly, if I would have been brought in with Carolyn, I could understand why Carolyn would feel like the third wheel in that scenario. I mean, that makes complete sense.
Were you surprised to watch it back that all of a sudden she is like, that's the best friend I've ever had in my life?
The best what?
Like that she's the best friend I've ever had in my life. Like Danielle seems to say that like, I need her. That is my girl.
Yeah.
We are going to the end. And like, were you surprised at how, like even watching back these episodes, you can tell either she is really drawn to you and believes this, or this is just another strategy.
Yeah.
So you will take the bullet, and this is just game on game.
And that's the thing is like, even in the best case scenario, and like you want to wholeheartedly believe it, you want to just go with it and like have this moment and have these feel goods. The back of your mind is like
$250,000.
But really though?
Yeah.
But really, like, is this person who hated me for 6 months, is she really?
And
like,
at the end of this, you're going to share this
you're
money
gonna
with me?
share it with me after you hated me so much and thought that I did this ultimate betrayal. You know what I mean?
So it's going to be a complete mind
it
F.
really is.
But being on Big Brother, does it train you for a complete mind F all the time?
I mean, because I've been blindsided a lot of times. So I think if anything, it makes me more paranoid. I think that I play that worst case scenario out in my head even more maybe than I would because I have been through a couple big blindsides. So I'm kind of trying to always predict when the next one is coming.
Well, and listen, I'm not going to even look at you when I say this, but these are my predictions for next week's episode or this week's episode.
Quit.
I'm going to say, let's say you stay, but you stay with that paranoia and you find a way to get Danielle out, or Danielle immediately backstabs you and you are the next out. So those are just, I'm not even looking at your face right now, but that is some predictions that I would potentially guess because I feel like you are two
guess.
King Kongs.
Well, and here's the thing. I think that Danielle's choice of picking me as the recruit or to seduce is what they seduce me.
Did you feel seduced in that moment?
Seduced. Yeah. I think that I was the perfect choice for Danielle. Perfect choice. You know, she could have given the letter to, let's say, Ivor. Okay. And he could have won. Like oh, sorry. I hope I'm not getting to us. Well, you know that she didn't choose Ivor.
Yeah.
We know that she chose me. But what I'm saying is I was the correct choice because my name has already been brought out at the banishment table, right? Most of these people here are considered diehard faithfuls. There's very few people who would even be an option to potentially bring up at a banishment table. I'm one of the few names left who she actually could get out, right? But also, we've been working together this whole game, and she can also give me this spiel about, oh my gosh, like, I wanted you here, you know, let's do this together. And we actually have formed a relationship throughout the course of the game. I am the ideal person for her to recruit. Absolutely ideal. She could have recruited anybody, but she would have been handing them a win. And why would she do that?
Totally. But I also feel like she is... there is in a talking head, that's supposed to be like the safe space. That's supposed to be where we tell the truth. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes she's even acting in her talking heads
space, yeah.
where I feel like it's a bluff on top of a bluff because I'm like, girl, like as to quote Carolyn, girl.
That's in my head too. That's the back of my mind inner monologue the entire show. Like, we're getting along great. We're having a great time. We're working together. I'm genuinely enjoying like her not hating me anymore. I just don't love to be hated. I don't. Who does? Love it.
You
it's
know,
not fun.
I mean, listen, it's not fun. Well, so
it's not fun.
You're filming the reunion tomorrow.
Yeah.
So Andy Cohen is hosting. You're a fan of Bravo, obviously.
Forever.
Well, before we get to the Traitors reunion questions, what would you want to ask Andy, or if you have an opportunity to say one thing to him, what would you hit him with? To try to like impress him or say, hey, I'm in the Bravo Club.
Do you think that's what he wants though? Do you
no,
think
not
he
at
wants
all.
another Bravo
She's
fan?
thinking like a Big Brother player. She's like,
please.
Well, what offhanded comment do you say so you come off cool? Like a Grateful Dead thing?
I'm going to come off cool and bring up his kids because
You have 3 kids.
I have 3 kids and his kids are freaking adorable.
Yeah.
And I probably try to play the whole like parent thing.
I want a documentary of people just trying to impress Andy Cohen at the Traitors
don't
reunion.
you know that he's so disgusted?
Oh, he's got a...
Oh my God.
Wouldn't you like to see Andy on the Traitors?
Like me be fan number 1,000,001 to come up to him and be like, oh my God, I love the Housewives. He's like, great. No, I got to be cooler than that. I got to be above that. I got to go like something more interesting. I have to, something more niche. He loves Snoopy.
He loves Snoopy. He loves the Grateful Dead. He loves John Mayer.
Yeah. Oh, John Mayer.
Yeah, bring John Mayer with you.
Yes.
Did you?
They definitely boned, right? No, they did.
No,
they did.
I don't know, friends with benefits? Who knows?
They boned. Get real.
That's beautiful. Their bodies are both wonderlands.
It's not a bad thought.
No, it's not my persuasion, but I love it. Yeah.
It's not the worst boning matchup of all time.
What if that gets revealed at the Traitors reunion? That Andy and John...
By
the way, hit him with that.
That's the question that I could pull out of the fishbowl.
Have you gone to second base with John Mayer?
At least.
At
second base on like a casual day.
Now I'm blushing.
On a casual hang.
Do you get nervous? Like, are you nervous going into the reunion? Is there, like, do you have a plan, or do you like, there's something I need to clear up? And obviously we have not seen the last couple of episodes, but are there things you want answers?
Not really. I know that it's so much flashier and more fun if I have like grudges.
Beef, yeah.
If I have beef, but I really don't. Like, come on. I'm good with everybody. I value you all as the human that you are. And it was a great time.
Yeah, it was a good experience.
It was a good experience. I didn't have a bad experience. I didn't get MJ. Oh, wait, I can't say. Sorry.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
But I didn't have like this bad like experience. So I don't have any like gripes or concerns to go in with. I think that it'll be, fun. I'm interested to see what happens. I think that there are some people who have.
So you'll be able to be a captive audience to watch that.
I will be a captive audience, but overall, I mean, I think I'm going to enjoy myself.
I'm curious if Dorinda, being the first one out, if she's going to try to get a moment and do a big scene, so she'll have another moment.
Dorinda's a professional.
That's what I'm saying.
She's
so I feel like
I would be shocked if she doesn't show up like the professional that she is.
Who are you friends with outside of this game? Like, I mean, in terms of like you actually have relationships with outside of being on the show.
Well, see, going in, I didn't know a single soul there other than Danielle, and that was, shaky to say the least. So any relationship that I formed while I was there is a product of the show itself, but there were definitely people who, I got along with well and who were really sweet. Chrishell was one who was super nice to me from the beginning. Like when I was like the loser nobody from Big Brother that no one cared about, Chrishell was always like really, really sweet to me and would kind of go out of her way to include me. And
she's a living Barbie doll.
She is.
Yeah.
And she's great. And I love her. And Ion, I connected with Ion really early on and loved her, had a great time with her. I was super sad when she died. I would have never killed her. And
anybody standoffish with you?
Not,
I mean, Sam, obviously, you couldn't push him past a certain point with Britney, but he was a nice guy.
Sam was very kind of, I wouldn't even say like closed off, but him and Ivor were in like a little duo and they would just sit in the corner together and talk about dusty old books or something. I don't know. Like, who knows? But I will say it was cliquey at the beginning. It was cliquey. And I think that, I don't say that to insinuate that they're like bad people who are so mean. I think that it's natural in a situation where you go in with strangers to gravitate towards the people you know. And most of the people there had a social circle that included other people on the show. And so them gravitating towards each other just made natural sense. I don't think that it's because they're like malicious, mean people who are, but it's just the nature of how things go. Everybody there wasn't a stranger to everyone the way that I was.
Is there a huge text thread now with every traitor? I mean, everybody that's played the game from your season?
No.
Let's start one. I mean,
I think that there's definitely like people kind of created little pockets, and I think that there's like a general kinship, if you will.
Yeah, I saw Boston Rob with Parvati, and who else was he with?
Dylan. I saw that last night.
With Joe Manganiello, the host of Deal or No Deal Island, which I think you should be on.
Parvati's on that right now and doing amazing.
Really great, yeah.
She's doing so well.
They just got Dr. Will off a couple weeks ago.
And Boston Rob has the after show. He has an exclusive after show for that program. So it sounds like maybe he's going to get Dylan in the fold, which Dylan would be great on that show.
He would be great. I mean, but it's interesting now you can have full careers as reality competition players. And that's what we were talking about.
It's difficult, but you can.
Well, we were like, you have 3 kids, you have a husband, you have this, like, you have all of this going on.
Yeah.
You're kind of at the mercy of a phone call.
You're totally at the mercy of a phone call. And that's what, again, I think that's another thing that kind of separates the gamers from everyone else on the Traitors, who kind of lives more like an LA celebrity existence, whereas I live in Oklahoma. I go home, I work a real job, I pick my kids up at school, and you know what I mean? Like, this is like a fun thing that I do when the opportunity presents itself, but I don't live in this all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I go home and like work.
Like Johnny Bananas is like pounding pavement every day to get his next gig.
I live my regular middle class, simple life at home with my kids like a regular person. And then when they call me, when Peacock calls me to be on the Traitors, I'm like, yes! And I get to go play this part of like a pseudo celebrity. You know what I mean? But that's not like my day-to-day real life. My day-to-day real life is I'm a normal person.
But it's got to be hard though, because sometimes you want that shiny thing and you want that like, ooh, TV is sometimes, I think the fallacy is we all believe TV is so much more exciting than it actually, or even the production of TV. And so Is it hard to not get caught up in that? Especially when everybody's talking, like, I killed to have you on. I was like, oh my God, please, please, please.
Of course. Like, you love it and it's great and it's all the attention and it's glamorous and all those things. But I find, this is true, like, this sounds so cheesy, but I really do find that when I'm in it for too long or I'm giving it too much energy, it makes me really, really grateful that I do have a real slow, normal life.
Yeah.
Where I can just like relax and be ugly and like roll to Target in my sweats and complain and be lazy and not have to just crank all the time. Like, it actually really makes me grateful for the fact that I get to weirdly like split it and live it both ways.
Do you make your kids go into the circle of truth at any time if they do something wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you ask my kids, I'm like the most famous person ever. Like, I'm like, you tell all your friends at school that your mom has SAG credentials, right?
She's a member of the guild.
Tilly's like, I'm gonna audition for a play, and I'm like, do they know that your mom is in the guild though? Does anybody else have a family member?
Oh
in the
my God,
guild?
that's the reality show right
there.
there.
My kids think that it's something that it isn't.
The new Dance Moms.
Yes.
We've got to do that.
Oh my God, my kids are watching Dance Moms. They're on season 4. We've gone back to
I talked to Abby Lee Miller a couple weeks ago.
You did.
Wild.
Oh my God. We are watching.
Stories.
JoJo Siwa just came on the scene. That's where we are in the seasons. My kids are so in on the Dance Moms. They're going to be reality TV versed. Okay. I'm not going to raise some kids who don't know what they're talking about. We're going to hit the greats.
With Housewives though, you see that all the time now of like, I always compare it to SNL. It's like there's only one first season of SNL and there's only one first season of OC. But now you have people that were raised on these shows.
I was raised on these shows.
But it's like then they come on and they're like auditioning to be on the show. Like they buy a new house just to impress the producers to be on the show.
Yeah.
So you don't know what their actual reality is because they're trying to play.
You're right. It was so authentic. When it was like originally on the scene, it was so authentic and so real. And now it's such a different animal.
It reads like a documentary if you go back and watch that.
It's such a different animal. It really is. And you can kind of say the same thing about Big Brother though. Big Brother in its original early seasons was so authentic with like the people that they were casting, like the people who were on the show. There was no social media. I literally got a Twitter account after my first season of Big Brother. Like Instagram didn't even exist.
The good old days.
Yes, like this wasn't even a thing. So there was no one who was going on Big Brother to try to get Instagram famous or try to get followers or sponsor. That didn't exist. And it was so it was just like a completely different world that we were living in, and you got a different caliber of authenticity and personality.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that.
Same for Housewives.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you saw that on The Real World all the time. Like it was like the first season was so different to like what it turned out to be, a bunch of kids drinking Red Bull, like hot people.
Yes, hot people who got a lot of times people will get cast on these types of shows. They have agents who are like, oh, go, you know what I mean? Like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And so many fewer that were just like real fans or just people who aren't in it for like the ulterior like sparkly moment.
Well, that's the hard thing too. Also, even Survivor, which premieres tonight, is that now watching the game in this new era of Survivor, it's people that know every move. Like almost they know so much that it's ruining the game sometimes because they're always like, I got to do the big moment or the big bluff or the big blind, and like you're like
because they're trying to pander to what they think the fans want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you just want somebody playing a good, decent game.
Good game. Yeah.
So
it's hard to find.
I know we're winding down here, but did you have, and please be honest, did you have a strategy going into the Traitors?
Well, yes, but my strategy was to be a traitor. I really wanted...
You thought you would get chosen to be a traitor?
Well, I don't know if I thought I would get chosen, but that is the only way that you can really have a strategy, because otherwise you're powerless. You're a thumb. Like, what are you? You're a sitting duck. You're a sitting duck. Like, sure, you can go in as a faithful with a strategy. What's your strategy? To be nice to everybody? To suck up to everybody? Because, like, you have no power.
Yeah, that'll only
You
go so
have
far.
no power. So, I mean, I don't know that there is a good strategy to be a faithful. It's a complete luck of the draw. If you took that turret and rearranged it with any number of people, you would have a completely different outcome. because they would choose different people to murder. There's not one thing you can do as a faithful that's like definitely gonna get you far or definitely gonna get you murdered. It's all a variable of whoever is in the turret.
Watching this as a fan, I think one of the complaints is it's become traitor on traitor violence. You know, is that the game has turned into traitors getting traitors out instead of faithfuls out. And I think that maybe is some of the anger that Danielle is getting from the fans right now. I have, over the last week, grown more an appreciation of Danielle and just go, okay, well, but the edit on her is, it makes her look so goofy at times and so wish-washy. That it's frustrating for her to go this far without somebody catching on. And for you to not catch on, that was frustrating.
Well, and a lot of people, and I did know that she was a traitor.
You did?
I did, but not.
Well, see, that's the other rumor. You know, if you read, you know, the rumor is she broke an NDA.
Correct.
To tell you that she was a traitor.
This rumor is hilarious to me because that's not what the NDA protects. But people on their L Woods are like, she broke the NDA.
She was like Randall Emmett on Vanderpump.
So L Woods, listen. The traitor code is not an NDA. An NDA actually protects something else. But let's go with the legal jargon. Okay. No, she did not tell me that she was a traitor. But it became obvious to me that she was a traitor. And of course, it's in my best interest not to expose her as a traitor or whatever. And yes, I think that people get upset about that. They're calling it, what are they calling it? Like the traitor angel. Like you have a traitor angel. Okay, but what am I supposed to do? Take a stand and be like, no, I'm here for the good, the purity of this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that traitor who's protecting me. I don't want to win.
Could I have a meeting with Alan Cumming, please? I need to talk to him about this.
What do you think I'm going to do? Yeah. And I do think that, like, there's also speculation that Dylan had figured out that she was a traitor, that other people along the way, but that they were, and that's fine.
I thought she could have almost picked Dylan as a traitor instead of you and gone that way and maybe had success with it.
Maybe, but I think she would have just been handing him the win.
Yeah.
Because he was so known to be a faithful. He was such a diehard Peter. He was like Peter 2.0. And sure, she could have recruited Dylan, but he would never in a million years be sniffed out. She would just be handing him the win.
The other thing Big Brother is getting a lot of flack for, they're blaming it on Big Brother, is Chrishell did an interview where she said, well, Danielle was going around this castle swearing on her grandkids. And then people are like, that's a Big Brother thing. I don't personally care if somebody swears on their grandkids.
It's a mixed bag. You know, it's true that happened. I was very surprised that it didn't make the final, like the episodes, because she didn't do it like in a closet with our mics off. It was
out in the open.
Out in the open, on camera.
So there's not a rule like when you sign up going, you can't talk about the kids like on New Jersey.
There's not a rule. And it was and it happened multiple times. It was brought up at the banishment table.
She's almost bringing it up too much.
It was brought up at the banishment table a couple of times. So, I mean, I don't feel bad talking about it, like, to protect her, because
it was such a thing.
It was such a thing that, and it wasn't something that she was trying to do off camera or like as a secret. It was very out in the open and very much present in the game. And I think actually most people that I've seen, the reaction has been kind of like yours. Like, they don't really care. It's a game.
Well, yeah, like it's like another, like, we have other things to be upset about. Like that is, you know, like, figure it out or don't. But yeah, if you're going to go out crawl, like, you know, scratching, tearing, whatever to get through.
I was part of the original conversation that she had. There was a group of the four of us. It was myself, Chrishell, Dolores, and Danielle. Danielle started the swearing on the kids thing in that conversation. Okay. Like, she says, I swear on my kids and grandkids, you guys. Well, then, of course, there's like a palpable peer pressure for everybody else to pitch in and be like,
I will not swear on my kids.
I swear on my kids too. Like, everybody, right? Feels like they have to pitch in.
I will also swear on dead relatives.
Yeah, like, it's like really awkward. And so anyway, in that moment, luckily for me, I am a faithful. Like, this was on like day one. So I'm not having to have some like moral compass reading moment where I decide if I'm going to do this or not, because truly, and I am a diehard gamer, but I have been through enough in my personal life that I would have a hard time doing it. I don't know what I would do.
It's a personal preference.
It's a personal preference, and I'm not condemning her for doing it, and I'm not saying that she's a horrible person, but I'm saying for me, I've lived life experience that makes that really icky for me.
Yeah.
And I think also I'm a person who struggles with anxiety. If you don't, congratulations. But people who do struggle with anxiety will feed the back of their mind like over and over and over. So I personally don't know that I could do it. That's not to say that somebody else shouldn't. You do you. I would have a hard time with it.
I feel like this will probably come up at the reunion, so I'm excited that this is like you're practicing what you will say tomorrow.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just the truth. I was fortunate that I wasn't put in a space where I had to lie in that moment. That would be really awkward. But the moment that it happened, that was for Dolores and Chrishell. That was a moment where they went, "Oh, Danielle's not a traitor." But for me, that was a moment where I went,
this Dolores.
You're not exonerated.
This Dolores acts like she's like, you traitors better kill me because she's been wrong every flipping episode.
Every vote.
And this is what upsets me about the fandom too. People are like, no, man, she's double bluffing. She doesn't know what's going on.
She also just like, I think a general disinterest in general. Like, I think it's like, she's just... I think that Tom is voting for Dolores because Tom
they waste their votes on each other.
Tom believes that that's a good vote. He believes that he's the only one who sees it. Whereas Dolores, I think it's just a tit for tat for her. She's like, yeah, you know what? Good points.
That's
right.
Jersey.
But Tom's coming after me. Tom it is. And Tom, I think, really believes that Dolores is a traitor. He's been on this for weeks.
I think Tom still believes that the people in the coffins are dead for real. Like, I think he'll be shocked to see them at the reunion.
So Tom's vote for her is not just like a general disinterest in what we're trying to accomplish. For him, he thinks he's on something.
I was really excited. Well, not excited.
He's uncovered something.
It was very fun to watch him get a win with the Boston Rob thing because you could tell that's the first win he's gotten in 2 years. And so it's like, oh, dude, yeah.
And then it's like the top of the next episode, he's right back to being the idiot. Like, I mean, it just...
Well, then, broken clock is right twice a day. Yeah. So.
It flipped on him like that. And because he was really adamant about Chrishell for the longest time, and then she died, obviously. And then Dolores, he's been adamant about her for a long time. I mean, that's the name that he brought to me in that scene.
Yeah,
he's like, no, listen.
Dolores. Yeah.
It was Dolores.
Yeah.
Like, he's been cooking this for weeks. Like, that is not to him, that was not throwing a vote away. That was
real.
That was real.
Yeah.
He is making the right call.
What is, finally, what's your favorite moment of this experience and your least favorite moment of this experience?
My favorite moment of the experience, gosh. I mean, I loved being in Scotland. Like, I loved the Scottish experience in general. I loved the cute little town. I loved the teeny little roads and the arched. It was so, like, out of a movie. It was, like, freaking sheep everywhere.
Yeah, well, when you're in that breakfast room, I'm always like, is this on a studio? Because it looks so picturesque in the back.
It's beautiful. Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. It's stunning. Like, I think that, like, just, like, immersing in the whole, like, Scottish Highlands culture was to me so fun, and I had a great time with that. So much better, no offense, Studio City, where the Big Brother house is. But being on location was kind of great. I loved that. Witnessing Alan, he's just amazing.
That's got to be real, like, to watch a performance like that.
Oh my God.
He's so good.
He's incredible.
And he's into it too.
You're like blown away by his talent.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way that he is able to just crank it out. It's such a professional, but also so warm and kind, but like amazingly good at what he does. So witnessing Alan was great. As far as my lows, I looked like shit all the time.
I don't think that's true.
Oh God, that last episode, I looked real bad. Looking rough. I am being weathered by the stress, and it's showing every episode. All the good outfits went first because I was afraid I would die. So I was trying to wear the good stuff. Like, I was trying to bring out like all the best. So the greatest hits are gone.
So the glam wasn't there for you. That's the
by the banishment table every day when I have like run out and done the mission, and I've been beaten by the wind and the rain and the frigid temperatures. Like, I'm just haggard, and it's just wearing me down by the banishment table. Cut to Gabby, by the way, who looks perfect, having done the same mission.
God, she's funny as hell.
But like somehow she's unaffected, And I just look like I have been rode hard and put away wet. It is a bad day to be me. So see, just not, the glam is not, it's not glamming for me on the Traitors. And the weather was terrible.
Yeah.
And they really don't appreciate you talking about their weather. And when I say they, I'm speaking for the entire Scottish population in general. They're not cool with you just like beating them up about their weather all the time, but it's really bad. I'm like, do you guys know about other places?
But she really loved being there. She really loved being there.
I did love being there, but the weather, oh my God, it was so cold, and just, it would rain almost every day. Like the rain is just in and out, and it rained for 10 minutes, and then you might get 10. That's why that one time we were all playing lawn games. It was like, oh my God, they can go outside. Push them out there. Make them play some lawn games. We need some new vistas, because it was like finally decent enough weather to actually be outside. The weather was really bad.
Well,
and
okay,
I struggle with suffering.
The weather bad, but the rest of the experience good.
Yeah.
This has been delightful. Thank you so much for coming in person to do this, for actually wanting to do this in the first place. And I want to tell folks at home, listen to her on Jeff Lewis Live today on SiriusXM. It was her first time on the show. I think she's a chump now, and she did excellent. You need a podcast because you grilled Jeff in a way that I have not heard.
Well,
you listen to his show.
Yeah, I'm a longtime chump, and so I had questions
I
had burning questions.
So I'm back on Monday, and I'm going to literally ask him, I think, on air, like, how was this Britney?
Please do.
If you have any extras you didn't ask, I'll say, hey, Britney had a couple more that she.
I had a couple more to add to the list, and I do have a Patreon where I'm recapping Traitors.
Okay,
yes.
So you have a Patreon. Is it patreon.com/Britney Haynes?
Yes.
Instagram. So you recap by yourself. You do solo recaps.
Solo recaps, and I'm a one-man show here. So I'm talking one take.
Do you do other things like pop culture stories and all that, or just
I'm
Traitors?
Intermixing, and we're gonna figure it out after Traitors as far as like time goes on, possibly recapping some old Big Brother seasons. There's pop culture chatter.
Oh my God.
But for now,
well, if you ever need a
Traitors
guest on your
focused.
Patreon, please consider me.
Oh,
please come back anytime, virtually or whatever, because this was delightful. I've just been so excited. And thank you, NBC, if you're watching or listening, for letting this happen, because I know you're very protective. So thank you.
Thank you
good
for
luck at the
having me.
reunion.
I appreciate it. Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Oh, wait, will you be posting on your Instagram like afterwards if you guys go get drinks or anything like that?
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure that there will be some selfies and whatnot.
Okay. Good luck with the Andy John Mayer thing.
Oh, yeah. I'll let you know.
Britney Haynes.
Thank you, guys.